Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a subscriber's interview, a subscriber that I've wanted to interview for a very long time, since the first day I narrated her encounter at the Werewolf Cemetery or Knocking Grave Cemetery. Before we get into this, a couple links. As you know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, and my merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. The links to Patreon and PayPal are in the description below, my merch displayed directly under this video. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. Those audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, the links to which are also in the description as well. Now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's get on with today's Dogman subscriber interview. Shall we? All right, guys, today I have a guest that I just recently shared her encounters when I covered the Idaho encounters, and I said I really want to get her on this. You guys will probably remember her from her cemetery encounter. Angie, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I am very good, very good. Thank you for taking some of your time out of your day to come on and discuss what's been going on. You've had a couple of encounters with Dogman, and a couple of paranormal encounters that you may share too.
Oh, yeah.
The platform is yours to share whatever you'd like. So I'm going to turn the floor over to you. I may interrupt you just to ask a question, but other than that, the floor is yours.
Okay. Well, where would you like me to start first?
How about from first encounter with the Dogman?
Okay. Sorry, we drank some water.
That's fine.
Well, it was back when I was a teenager, back in, oh my gosh, I had to have been 16 or 17. And me and my friends were out just messing around. Because like back then, that's what you did for entertainment. You didn't have video games and computers and all that stuff. But we had decided that we were going to go mess around and go to the cemetery and like hang out, look at some of the graves and that. We like to do those weird things. But we left and we got there to the cemetery, and I noticed that it had been really, really quiet. But I mean, it's a cemetery, so I didn't think too much about that. And my friends that I was with, my two friends, they decided they wanted some alone time because they were a couple. So I got out of the car and I was walking around just minding my own business. I went up to this mausoleum looking thing that we have in there, and I was just messing around there looking, trying to read dates and names and stuff, and kind of thinking about how sad it is that people, they just get forgotten after a while. I mean, there's graves there that are old, and you can tell they haven't been taken care of, and nothing's been done. Right. No flowers or anything put on it. So I was thinking about that, and then I heard a noise, weird noise. So me being me back then, Mrs. Curiosity, I walk over to where I think this noise is coming from. I'm looking downhill at this time because there was a little hill that the mausoleum was on, along with a whole bunch of other graves. But I'm looking down this hill. It's not a very steep one. But I see something down in this lower part of the cemetery. And I mean, it's not far away, but I'm looking at this thing and I'm seeing it, and it's moving. I don't know what it is, so I move closer to it. And I wasn't thinking about grave robbers or anything like that. That's just that was not a thought in my head or anything. But I get down there and I see this creature, and at that time it was on all fours, kind of like sitting on its rear end. and it was eating on something. And that's disturbed me most of all. But I got a little closer to it to see it, and I could see that it looked like a wolf. But it was huge. It was massive. This thing had to have been like, oh my gosh. Standing up, it had to have been right around 5 feet tall.
Wow.
Yeah. So almost as tall as I was back then. Still.
Yeah.
And
that just to clarify, that standing up, you mean just on fours at the haunches, right?
correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just standing up on its haunches, and it was eating. Well, it was sort of standing up on its haunches. It was sitting down, but it had like its front kind of, up in that, and it was eating something. And I couldn't see what in the world it was eating, and it looked like a wolf. And I'm thinking, oh, cool, it's a wolf. I love wolves, and I wanted to get closer to it and see it better, and that hopefully not scare it off, right? So I go move closer to it, and I'm, like I'm doing a really tippy toe type of thing that I don't know how I do it, but I can sneak up on a cat that's got its back turned to me, and it won't notice it. I'm there until I'm right there. So I did this, and I probably got to about 20, 25 feet away from it. And I'm standing there, and I'm staring at this thing, and I'm looking at it, and it looks like a wolf, but it doesn't look like a wolf. I saw it like lift up this thing that it was eating, towards its mouth, and it took a bite like a person. Like, it bit into it like it was holding whatever, and, took a bite like a person.
Wow.
And I mean, it had the muzzle. It looked like a wolf, plain and simple wolf, except it had the longer ears, of course, and the tufts of fur on it. And its eye color was that amber color. I'm standing there looking at this thing and watching it, and I must have accidentally stepped on a stick or something, because I heard a noise, like a pop noise, and I looked over to it, and it was staring right at me. And I'm standing there staring at it, and when it stood up, and I heard that popping noise that you hear when bones, it almost sounds like a bone breaking, but not that bad. It sounds more like if you have a dislocated joint and that popping it back in, that's what it sounds like. I'm standing there, and I'm looking at this thing, and it's standing up, and it's looking at me and sniffing the air. And I'm thinking, oh crap, I'm looking at a werewolf. And my mind kind of like went blank, and it was just like, this shouldn't be real. This thing doesn't exist. This is what my parents told me all my life. Monsters don't exist. And I'm standing here looking at one, and it just kind of looked at me, and it was like, when it looked at me, it felt like it was looking through my soul, like it was seeing what kind of a person I was. And I don't know whether it was seeing if I'd harm it or anything. Heck, I couldn't harm that thing. But standing there, and my heart's racing 90 miles a minute. I'm like, oh my God, I'm actually seeing a werewolf. And it smiled at me. It kind of like grinned. It looked, it pulled up its lips and that, and kind of showed me its teeth, but it wasn't an aggression thing. It was more of a, I see you, I know you're right there. And then it picked up the thing it was eating on, and I realized it was eating a leg. And I'm like, oh my God, this thing is actually eating what was left of a person.
Mm.
And I started like shaking. Like I said, my mind kind of went blank and I wasn't thinking straight. And as soon as it did that, I turned and I ran back towards the car. And I knew I wasn't supposed to run. That's the thing that my mom and dad have instilled in me, all my life. You don't run from predators. You'll just egg them on. They'll chase you.
Yeah.
So
really quick, so this animal, the Dogman that you're looking at, dug up what you believe dug up a grave and pulled out a human leg, and that's what it was chewing on?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know that's what it was chewing on. I mean, I could see it so well. There was moonlight and everything.
Yeah.
Well, even though it was under the trees and there, I could still see it pretty darn well.
And there was a couple of names for this cemetery that you guys used to call it when you were kids. It was like the Knocking Cemetery and the Werewolf Cemetery, right?
Yeah, the Knocking Grave Cemetery, and then there was a supposedly a werewolf grave in there.
Okay.
But the knocking thing, we found out it was just a loose board in a grave, and then the werewolf one we never could find.
Well, I think you did.
Right?
That's crazy. Wow. That really adds a whole new sense of, why they're in graveyards too. I mean, we've heard that they like to sleep on top of graves, but to dig up a grave, a burial to eat is incredible too.
Oh, and it was crazy because normally, I don't know about there in New York, but normally here in Idaho, when you bury somebody, you have like a cement thing kind of like put over it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like the vault or whatever.
Yeah. And so it had dug that, like lifted pieces of it. Like, I don't know how in the world it did it. I mean, it's got to be super strong to break something like that. Or it could have been broken in the first place. I don't know. But you had those pieces picked off to the side. It had the dirt dug up. And I was like, yeah, this thing is massively strong. It's huge. It's a killing weapon.
Right.
It's a killing machine. Excuse me.
Wow. That's incredible. I'm blown away that it was a human leg.
Yeah, that was the thing that bothers me the most, because it was actually eating a leg, and that was so disturbing to me.
Right.
And I'm thinking, oh God, I'm next. I'm the next meal. But what never ever dawned on me, and until I've listened to more shows out there, your show, that this thing probably had a friend back there somewhere, and it was, like watching me.
Yeah.
And even though I never felt anything, the worst I ever felt from this one was just that sense of not knowing what its intentions were, and not being able to say, okay, this isn't going to hurt me because it's standing there eating a leg.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So now your friends, you get back to the car, they believe you at all, or?
No, they didn't. In fact, I jumped in the car and I went with my friend, my one guy friend, that to go, to leave. Let's go now. And so he looked at me and he started the car, and he saw that I was upset. I was scared.
Right. So
he started up the car and we left, and we went back to my place, my mom and dad's place, actually. And I was sitting there talking to him, and I told him exactly what I had seen. Seeing things, it was a cemetery, spooky place, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So they didn't believe me. And then the only other people that I told after that was my ex-husband. So he knew about it. whether he believed me or not, I don't know. I mean, he was the type of person that kind of, believes in logic more than supernatural stuff. And so I never really got the sense from him that he believed in me. But when I had my daughter, when she got old enough to understand and not get freaked out about it, I told her about it. And she's told me she's seen weird stuff in that cemetery too. Apparently she had gone in there with a friend of hers and they had seen and heard weird stuff too. So, yeah.
That must be very I don't know, hard to deal with, knowing what's out there, and your daughter to say, "Hey, I've seen some pretty creepy stuff out there too,"
Yeah. Yeah, it bothered me, especially when she was little and everything. I didn't want her going walking off in the woods by herself, even though that's what I used to do all the time.
Yeah.
When I was younger, my parents couldn't keep me out of the forest. They couldn't keep me from wandering around the forest by myself. There's absolutely no way.
Right.
And then after I had my daughter and I know, what's out there and that, I'm like, please don't go wandering off. Please stay close to camp, please. At least take a weapon with you or something,
Yeah. Well, it's a natural mother instinct to protect their, so it's just.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And I don't know about anybody else, but it seems like it's got worse because the fact that I know what's out there. And that made a huge difference in how much I was willing to let her go and do her own things in the woods. It really changed a lot of things.
Yeah, it changed your whole perception of the woods. I mean, that's what.
Oh, yeah.
To me, that's what happened for my. I'd been comfortable in the woods growing up, and then I had a sighting.
Yep.
I was in a car when it came out, thankfully, but
yeah,
that changed my whole perception of the woods, knowing that there's some sort of strange creature that makes human beings look weak.
Oh, yeah.
It is very scary.
This thing, I mean, it looked like a bigger version of Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just all those muscles and, all the definition and everything. Its chest was huge. It didn't have a whole lot of hair on its chest, but the rest of its body was covered in hair, and it had almost like a mane thing looking around its head.
Yep.
But not a big one like a lion. It was a smaller one. And I mean, I was looking at this thing that should not exist, and that blew my mind. I couldn't believe I was standing there looking at this thing that I thought was a werewolf.
And why would you,
Right.
We're told that monsters don't exist, it's just, and it's crazy too, because you had a conflict in your brain when you saw it at first. You were like, oh, there's a zoo, maybe it's a wolf. Wait, we don't have wolves at this zoo.
Haven't had them in years. They never have gotten wolves back in the zoo. I don't think they ever will.
Yeah, that's I'm blown away at the leg thing, because that's just it actually dug a grave to eat a human leg. Is just, what else did it eat? I'm sure it didn't stop at legs, but.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I didn't want to get any closer to try to find out.
Yep.
I was like, nope.
No, I can't blame you there at all. So now, after that, it was pretty much free sailing, no encounters until roughly this time last year or the year before.
Yeah, this time last year or the year before. It was actually earlier in the year, because it was summertime and we were out sitting by the little fireplace thingy we have out here.
Okay.
And that's the first time I saw it, was out there sitting by that fireplace. I was out there all by myself, and I saw these things, and I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
What now? No, it's getting to where it's like, this place just, I'm so used to it now, it's not even funny, but this place just is all kinds of active. But I mean, there again, sitting by the fireplace, and I noticed these two creatures standing out by the barn, and I'm looking, and it's dark. I couldn't see them a whole great, huge bunch. But I saw the eye shine, and it's the same color, and I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, okay, well, as long as we leave it alone, or them alone. Actually, there was two. There was a bigger one, and then kind of like a smaller one, but not too small. Like more like, I believed in my mind that it was like a male and a female, possibly a mating pair.
Mm-hmm.
That it just popped in my mind. So I'm standing there looking at these two creatures, and they go inside the barn, and they're poking their head out every now and then, watching me. Because at that time I'm standing up by the fence, and I'm looking at them. I'm like, I am 99.9% sure that they were dogmen, because they had muzzles.
Mm-hmm.
They had long ears. I could see their silhouette, but not any kind of true definition or anything like that. But they were out there staying in the barn for, God, they were out there for months. They were there during the winter, and then come springtime, that was the last time I saw them. And it's weird.
Yeah, yeah. Now, when you did see these things, how many times did you see them when they were in the garage?
Oh, when they were in the barn, I mean?
Or yeah, the barn. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're okay. I saw them. Oh my gosh! Every time I go outside at night, and sometimes I just go outside at night just to see if they were there.
Mm-hmm.
But it's back in the back left corner of our property. It's out by a canal, and it's just sitting out there right now. It's not doing anything, but I mean, I've got some of my stuff out there, and that's where they used to dress the deer down and everything when they went hunting and that. And it's like, I could kind of see why they kind of like that place, because it's got hay and it's warm and out of the elements. I went out there and I looked for footprints in that, and I didn't find anything, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's weird.
Yeah, it's creepy. And then, you did tell your mom that you thought Dogman were out there.
Yep.
Now, how did she take that?
She was kind of creeped out. She wanted me to show her the eye shine and everything, so I took her out there and I showed her, and she's like, oh. Yeah, and she's like, well, that can't be anything else but because of the fact that it's too tall.
Yeah.
We don't have anything here that's that tall.
Yeah, that's insane. It's so insane that you see one as a child or a teenager, and then, you've got one living in the barn where your dad used to store his boat, just hanging out, and like,
oh yeah,
that's crazy. But like you said, there's a canal back there, there's woods around, so it's got access to water, it's got access to shelter, and like you said, as long as it doesn't hurt us or hurt our animals, you were pretty keen on, you were all right with letting it stay there and not chasing it out of there. So
I didn't go back there while they were there and bug them at all. I just, let them be them, and we'll keep our distance.
Yeah.
No, I didn't let the dogs go back there or anything. That they couldn't go back there anyway, because they're in the fenced-in yard. But just in case, I didn't want the dogs to go back there or anything too. Just let them be.
How did they act? Like, when did they kind of sense that they were there and that they were around, the dogs?
Yeah, they'd look out towards the barn and that, and they'd tuck their tail between their leg, and they'd come and sit by us. My mom's dog, Smokey, he'd go and he would crawl underneath the picnic table, and that's where he'd stay until we went back inside.
Wow.
He didn't like to walk around at all with that thing out there. No. Yeah, they'd all act like that. My daughter's dog, Thor, he's a German Shepherd mix. He'd go out there and he'd stand by the fence and he'd just look out towards there, and he'd kind of growl every now and then, but it wasn't really a defensive like growl.
Right.
It was more of a, I know you're there type of thing.
Almost like
I can see you.
To it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like that, and he'd do that, and they'd poke their heads out, look, they blink their eyes and everything, and it's like, yeah, that's creepy.
Yeah. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
like you just said, I was thinking about this right as you were saying it. Eye shine is one thing, but when you see it blink, that
Mhm.
really brings a sense of, oh, that's real then. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because if it blinks, you know, if it's not blinking and it's just, a bright or semi bright two lights, you can almost kind of logically just explain it away. Not that it's not there, but so your brain feels comfortable. Oh, maybe it's
Yeah.
just this or that. But then when it blinks and it's still looking at you, then all hope for that's just out of the window.
Mhm. Yeah. And it was kind of cool, but at the same time, it was kind of spooky because yeah, it's they were standing there and blinking at me and watching me, and they seemed like they were curious more than anything. But knowing what they are and everything, it was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just gonna leave them alone, and hopefully they leave me alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they did. They left us alone. We'd go out there and we'd see them every now and then, and there'd be it was kind of weird. There'd be some times where the big one was gone and the smaller one was there, and then there'd be times where the big one was there and the smaller one was gone. So I'm wondering if they'd taken turns hunting. I
Yeah.
don't know. That's the only thing I could figure out why they'd be doing that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or
Hmm.
or one
If
was
they're
like,
anything like a regular wolf, then that's kind of like what they do. They go out on their hunting trips and then they come back.
yeah, yeah,
It's yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, it
I live in
definitely
a very
is.
unique place.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like you said when I first started talking to you, I learned a lot from this channel in geographic locations because
Oh yeah.
prior to this channel, you hear Idaho and you think potato. I mean, you don't
Yep.
really think of forested areas, Dogman, Sasquatch,
Oh
anything.
yeah.
Um,
Especially up north in northern Idaho and that. It's absolutely stunning up there. It's nothing but forests and lakes. Yeah, they've got Coeur d'Alene up there and everything. It's just absolutely stunning.
hmm, that's cool. So,
And there's been dogman encounters up there too.
yeah, yeah. There's been a lot of
Yeah.
Dogman encounters. All Idaho. I had. I was kind of shocked that I've had a lot of Idaho encounters.
Mhm.
Going through the subscriber, state by state, I'd come to a state that I'd be like, oh, there's going to be a lot of encounters in here, and I'd take the folder out
Mhm.
of the filing cabinet and one or two. But then you
Yeah.
get to a state that you think, oh, there's not going to be that many, and boom, it's full. Like Idaho
Yeah.
had probably 4 or 5, maybe 6 actually
Mhm.
when I did it. So now
Yeah.
you said you had some paranormal stuff. Are you up for sharing a little bit of that or?
Oh sure.
All right,
I've got so much paranormal stuff. It's not even funny.
really?
Oh
Well,
yeah. Yeah. Um. Oh gosh. Where do I start on this? This has happened pretty much all my life.
okay.
Um.
Start wherever you want to start. To be honest with you, this is your floor.
Yeah. Well, I'll start when I was young, when I was little. Um. Very when oh my gosh, I can't remember how old I was, but I was just young. I was downstairs with my sisters, and we were sleeping down there because I mean the house that I live in, it's an old house. I don't exactly know when exactly it was built, but it was back. It had to have been back in at least the 30s, 1930s, or I don't know. It could have been even built before then. But um, I'm laying there in bed, and my sister Sandy was by me, and I was laying there trying to go to sleep. They were sound asleep, and I start hearing footsteps going down and then back up the stairs, and it did this repeatedly over and over and over again. I mean, It literally took me hours to fall asleep because it wouldn't stop, and I was terrified. And I thought, well, maybe it was my mom, putting in some laundry, but then in my little mind, I wasn't thinking exactly straight. I was just thinking of how scared I was. It was freaky. So that was kind of like my first encounter, just that. And I woke up the next morning and I asked my mom if she'd been downstairs doing anything last night. And she said, no. I'm like, oh, peachy. Okay.
The smallest ones, the smallest ones are always like the creepiest. If you, for some reason, like just like when we can't see, it's almost like, because I've always said like Dogman or Bigfoot encounters when we're in the woods and we hear footsteps or we hear the roar. But it's the same way as paranormal. When we can't see something, then our brain is just, full of ideas for what that was.
Yeah. And I mean, I'd heard stuff from my sisters before, weird stuff that they'd seen and heard, but I was just little and I didn't really pay attention to it. But I mean, gosh, the attic, it's one of those houses that has the stairs, and then there's an attic above in the stairwell, and you have to crawl up these these horrible ladder-like step things. And it's like having a ladder on the side of the wall there, but it's not a full ladder. It's only a partial ladder. You have to kind of climb up and get on it and then go up in the attic.
Right.
I hate that. I hate it. I never have gone up in that attic, and I never will. That's always given me the creeps. I hate even going down the stairway at night or anything like that, just to, because of that attic that's up there, and I won't look up at it or anything. It freaks me out. But
they are definitely creepy. I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah. But we've seen and heard so much stuff downstairs and throughout the whole house. We've
Is it an older house?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was built back in like 1920s, 1930s. It's old. But oh gosh, the next one that I can remember would be downstairs again, sleeping again, and my sister woke me up, and she says, Angie, turn on the light, wake my other sister up, because there's something by her head breathing in her ear. And I'm like, okay, I'm groggy, I'm just waking up, and I'm like, what? And I listened for a second, and oh yeah, you could hear it. It was breathing really hard in her ear. Oh. And I looked and I couldn't see anything, but then, the room was dark, so I woke up my other sister, and she was laying down on the floor. And I woke her up and told her what was going on, so she quickly jumped up and turned on the light. Nothing there. You could still hear the breathing. We grabbed all our stuff and we took it upstairs and we slept in the living room that night. We were all totally freaked out. And my sister was freaked. My own sister that heard it, had it right by her ear and everything, was freaked out the most. She just, I don't even know if she slept that night.
Yeah. She
was so freaked out. I don't blame her. I would not want to wake up with something breathing in my ear.
No, definitely not.
It's like, no. Oh, but, oh gosh. Another time, I was still young, not as young. I was getting up there. I was probably, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old, something like that. But I had some friends over, and we were downstairs playing, and we decided to come upstairs for something. We got bored or something. They had to go home or something like that. That's what it was. They had to go home. And so we were walking up the staircase. Something told me or made me feel, I don't know, it was almost like something told me to turn around and look down the stairs. And when I did, I saw what looked like my one sister I'll just say her initials L. Okay, so I'm standing there and I'm staring at this thing that has her clothes on. I mean, her pants, her shirt, everything like that, but no head.
Oh God.
Yeah, and I freaking freaked. I like grabbed my one friend and I said, look, and she turned around and she saw it, and we all screamed and barreling up the stairs. I tried to tell my mom what we saw and everything, but she didn't believe us. And it's so crazy because they heard stuff and saw stuff too, but when we were little and that, they just poo-pooed it off and acted like it was nothing. It was like, no, this wasn't nothing. We had some weird crap going on here. And that was what was disheartening too, was the fact that they didn't believe us. You know, they never ever said they believed us or anything. But I mean, that was another weird experience and made me not want to go back down there. But unfortunately, we had to because we slept down there for a while. But another time when I was young, a lot of this weird stuff happened to me when I was young, but it still happens to this day. I was outside playing hide and go seek at night because that's what we could do. You used to be able to do that. Didn't have to worry about people coming and snatching you or breaking into your house or some freaking weird, creepy person out there wandering around. So we were out there playing, and at this time the yard wasn't fenced. It's fenced now, but the yard wasn't fenced back then. And we were playing, we heard this weird noise. It almost sounded like drums. I'm like, okay, what is that? So it was me, my sister Sandy, and I'm just going to call her Sandy that's not her real name though.
Okay.
But I'm going to call her Sandy, and I'll call the other one, I'll just use her initial, K. We all went out towards, it was coming from out by the canal, so we all went walking out around there. We got about, I don't know, halfway to the canal when we saw something walking around, and it was walking towards us. And as it got closer, we could see it more and more. And it was dark, really super dark. It looked like, the only thing I can describe this as, it looked like a demon. It had horns. It had red eyes. And it's walking towards us. And my sister Kay beat it like hell back to the house. And she just left us there. My sister Sandy turned around and did the same thing, left me there. And then she stopped as she got back to the house and, yelled for me to come on. I'm frozen in fear, and this thing is walking towards me. This thing could, oh my gosh. It was probably a good 30 feet away from me.
Wow.
And, I mean, I could see it really good. I mean, this thing, it had to have been a demon. And I don't know what was up with the drums that we heard, but it was like, okay. At this time, there was some weird devil worshiping stuff going on around here. It's really kind of weird. They found dead animals up on the, we call it a mountain, but it's, it's not that big of a mountain. It's a mountain, but it's not that big. But they found some dead animals up there. They found some candles and just weird stuff up there. And I guess people were having their pets come up missing. We heard rumors about them wanting to sacrifice a child around Halloween and stuff like that. But you know how the old rumors went. But I mean, we didn't pay attention to them really. I mean, we didn't know it, didn't see it, didn't care,
Right.
So, I mean, we were out there and playing and having a good time, and then that happened, and I finally was able to get myself out of it and to run to the house. But that scared the living crap out of me. I ran to the house screaming and bawling the whole way. Went inside and told my mom and dad once again what we saw. Nope, they didn't believe it. But then something weird happened to my mom, and I think that's when she started really kind of giving it some more thought that, yeah, there was stuff going on. She had come home from work one night. She used to work swing shifts and all kinds of horrible shifts. She used to work at a potato processing plant. And she came home one night, and she was out there in the yard, and our old dog that was barking and growling towards the trees. And she come and she looked. She's like, "What are you barking at?" And she looked, and she said she saw what looked like the silhouette of a person, but they were all black, like all dark colored. No definition to really any, oh gosh, any features like whether you could tell it was a male or female. It looked like a black form, like a shadow person. And she saw that, and she come back into the house, and she got my dad up and told her there's somebody out there, and he went out there with his gun, and there's nobody there. I have no idea what that was, whether it was somebody that was just messing around or what, but I mean, that scared her. And then, I mean, we've had all sorts of things happen around here. We've had cupboards open, doors open and shut on their own. Noises. We've heard babies crying. There's no baby. They did have a baby that died of SIDS in this house way, way back, like before we ever moved in. So I'm wondering, is that the baby? It probably is, but oh gosh, we've seen shadow people. We've heard radios playing, TVs playing when there wasn't one on. Voices. We hear voices all the time. It's weird. We have a lady that comes to the back door, to the patio door, and she likes to say hello. She says, "Hello, hello." We go and look, and of course there's nobody there. She's our little hello lady. Oh my goodness. There's so much. When I was younger, when I was a teenager, I had a little Smurfette doll. I don't know if you'd ever seen one. Remember those Smurfette dolls they had? Anyway, I was laying in bed, and I was getting ready to go to sleep, and I heard scratching on the wall, and I'm thinking, oh God, creepy. So I'm like, I get my mom, and I have her come in and look at, what's underneath my bed, what's scratching on the wall by my head. And she looks, and there's my Smurfette doll, and I'm like, okay. So she gave it back to me, and I was like kind of creeped out. But after that, I sometimes wonder if I don't have something that follows me or is attached to me, because I've been in several different places, homes and stuff, apartments and that, and I've had weird stuff going on. It's almost like it follows me around, almost wherever I go. But I'm sitting there one day, and I think I was combing my hair in the mirror and that, and I glanced out of the left side in the mirror, and there was a girl kneeled on the floor. It looked almost exactly like me. And I had an imaginary friend named Ghosty back then. And I'm sitting there. I'm looking at this girl, and I turn around really quick to see if I couldn't catch her, and she's gone. And that really gave me the creeps, because she looked almost exactly like me. And I don't know whether maybe that was my imaginary friend, and it wasn't an imaginary friend. You know what I mean? So, oh my gosh. I mean, to this day, we still hear voices. We hear people talking downstairs all the time, and there's nobody down there. We have gone, since I've grown up with the stuff, we've gone down there. And it sounds kind of stupid, especially when you're a kid and that. And when you're a kid, you do stupid things. I had not ever played with the Ouija board then, but I guess my sisters had. And so I don't know whether that brought, open some, I don't know. I don't know whether that opened some sort of a portal for more stuff to come in. But we've heard growls. We've got EVPs of something laughing, saying something about pushing my mom into the saw, because they have a, oh gosh, what is it? I think it's a bandsaw or something down there. And it said something about push her in the saw, and then it giggled. So that was really, really creepy. That was one of the EVPs we got. We've got growling. We've got, oh gosh. We've had all kinds of weird stuff happen. It's hard to remember everything on the spot, but it's just.
The growling ones are the ones that I don't like, because there's you hear them right next to your ear or whatever, and you look around and there's nothing there, but you are absolutely positive that you heard it, and it's just, God, it's creepy.
Yeah, that happened a couple times. I've heard a little girl giggle right in my ear before. Freaked me out.
Wow.
As I was laying there in bed one night, and all of a sudden this little girl giggled right in my ear. She's right by my head, giggled right in my ear. And I'm like, I freaked out. I'm like, what the hell? So I typed my friends, I just had a little girl giggle in my ear, and there's no little girl.
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was freaking out. But yeah, it's crazy. This house is still active all this time. I mean, I'm 51 now, and it still happens. This place has never been quiet.
Is there a known history of anything that happened there or in that surrounding area that may have brought, any kind of war was fought there, or?
Not that I know of. The only thing that did happen here is like the baby that died, the stillborn, or not stillborn, I'm sorry, the one that died of SIDS. Okay. And that's the only thing I can think of. I don't think there was anything on this land as far as any kind of a battle or anything, but I don't know. I mean,
right.
We don't know a whole lot of the history about the place before we owned it.
Right. Well, obviously something's there if the walls are containing so much sort of strangeness.
Yeah. So. Oh, the whole land. I mean, we've seen stuff outside too, and it's just like, okay, why does this crap keep happening?
Yeah. Maybe that's another reason why those dogmen were kind of drawn to the property, because, it's certain, I've heard throughout my time doing this that dogmen are drawn into negative energies and stuff like that, supposedly. So
yeah, and unfortunately this place it exudes negative energy, and we've tried to get rid of it. We've saged, and it just comes back. It'll be good for a little while, and then it'll come back. And it's just, I mean, you can tell when it's getting bad in here, because my mom just kind of like, she changes. She's, after you saging that, she's good for a while, and then all of a sudden she starts getting all negative and everything again, and you can feel it in the air. It's just weird.
Yeah,
but
absolutely. I don't know. My brain is still on that Dogman with the leg. I just keep thinking about it. I keep going back to it, and because like I remember when I narrated the story, and that's another reason why I like when I have people on after I've narrated their story, because when you write out the story and you send it to me, there's things that as you're writing it you don't add, or you forget to add, and it's just like, oh my God, it was absolutely chewing on a human leg that it dug out of the ground. These things are so more capable of so much that we don't know. So
the first thing that popped in my head when I saw it is, it's eating it like a piece of chicken.
Wow.
What? Why?
Yeah.
Why did I think about that?
Well, I mean,
Ugh.
how it was holding it and everything, like
Yeah.
person with a chicken leg.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. Exactly. And that's the thing that I'm seriously. That's the thing that freaked me out the most about it. Not just the fact that I'm standing there looking at what I thought at the time was a werewolf,
yeah.
because that just blew me away. But then it was eating that leg, and it's just like, um, I'm out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy though, because where it happened, I mean, the werewolf cemetery, supposedly there's a werewolf buried there, or, and then the knocking cemetery, which you guys debunked the knocking cemetery,
Yeah.
which was like
Yeah.
a piece of wood or something like that.
Yeah. It's just like a loose piece of wood inside the grave. It's kind of weird.
That is very
Uh,
weird.
yeah. I've heard stories that people did find the werewolf grave, and it's just one grave says were and one grave says wolf, and they're both by, right by each other. So I don't know that one.
Yeah,
I don't know,
that's a strange
but
one.
whatever I saw that was no apparition. That was solid. It, had all the definition of being a wolf, but human features.
That's crazy.
It's crazy.
Yes, ma'am. Well, we're coming up on about time. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the audience before we uh, end the interview? And do me a favor, don't hang up when we end the interview. I'd like to talk to you for a few more minutes if you don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
All right. So.
The only thing I can think of to say is that for somebody who first gets on the channel and they listen to these stories, they might be skeptical at first, but there's too many people out there that have seen the exact same thing and different ones to be always lying about it. And there's people that have seen these things with, being around other people, and they've seen it too. And I don't think they're all mass hallucinations. I think that these creatures really do exist. I'm 100% sure that our government knows about them, and they will not tell us. Forest Service and everything, they won't tell us that they're out there. I'm not afraid to go out and, still go in the woods and that. I love camping and fishing. I still go. I don't let it bother me. But these things are out there, and, if you're smart, take precautions. I don't have a gun, so I don't. It's a long story, but I don't do guns. I quit doing that a long time ago.
Right.
But I would recommend somebody either having a firearm or something to protect themselves, but don't use it unless you have to, because all you're going to do is piss this thing off.
Absolutely. I agree 100% with you on that. I really do.
Yep. Yeah. And it's,
sometimes just the sight of a gun with these things is enough for it to consider, hey, I know what they do. I'm out of here, Yep.
Yeah. And you'd have to, you'd have to have such a huge weapon, I think, to take one of these down. I know I've heard stories about people taking them down by shooting them in the head, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I wouldn't want to try it.
No.
Absolutely not.
No, definitely
That's to me, that's waving a piece of steak in front of a mountain lion and say, here, kitty, kitty.
Yeah. I agree. I do. I agree. I'm glad that, like I said, I'm glad that my encounter was in a car that was moving away from this thing. I don't know what I would have done if I was put into your shoes, creeping around a creepy cemetery, and then you see a dog man eating a human leg. Nope. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah. So. I mean, I was so close to the dang thing. I could definitely see what it was doing. Had pearly white teeth, which is really weird, I thought, because, normally an animal, after eating and stuff, they start to get tartar on their teeth and that. But this thing had pearly white teeth. And big, long friggin' fangs. My gosh, they had to have been, oh, God, probably about as long as my hand, from the tip of my middle finger to down where your hand ends, my wrist.
Wow.
So, I mean, if you could imagine that, looking at your hand and thinking, yeah, that's creepy.
That's
And
beyond
I'm not,
creepy.
yeah. And I'm thinking, and this was such a huge creature too. So, yeah, that was my first one. Oh,
Well, all right. We're about up on time right now, so I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're very busy with things going on, so thank you
oh
very
yeah.
much.
Oh, I appreciate you giving me a chance in that and let me say my story out loud and that I was going to do it before, but I get nervous and scared, and I always worry that somebody's going to think I'm a nutcase and label me as such, and oh, you're a liar, and pull that crap, and I just hate that. It bothers me, but I've gone to where what, they'll do what they do. It doesn't matter, so I might as well come on and tell my story and get it out there, and so people know that I'm not a nutcase, at least, well, in that respect. But yeah, and I appreciate you letting us have a platform that we can actually get down, get talking about these things and that, just talk about all the stuff. Because I mean, I'm pretty darn sure that I even had a Bigfoot encounter. I didn't see it, but boy, that was creepy.
Well, since you just mentioned it, what happened?
Oh, well, I had my mom as witness to this too, because she heard it too. Oh gosh, I can't remember how long ago. It was a few years ago.
Okay.
But we kept hearing this weird noise outside. It sounded like a mixture between a scream and a moan. And I'm out there and I'm listening and I'm thinking, okay, that's no animal that I've ever heard in my life. I looked it up. There's no animal that matches it. Nothing. So we're hearing this for days, this thing going back and forth down the canal. It had to have been in the fall time. That's yeah, because it was going back and forth down the canal. There was no water in it, so it had to be in the fall or early spring. I wish I had better memory sometimes. But we're listening to this thing, and it's going back and forth up the canal. I actually got a recording of it, but the recording sucks because it's really light. You can barely hear anything, and it's on one of my old phones. I don't even know where it's at. But if I find it, I'll send it to you and see if you can enhance it and see if you can hear it.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. But it's going up and down doing this thing, and then we started smelling this horrible, horrible stench. It smelled like a mixture between a skunk, garbage, and feces. Smelled like that. Just horrible, horrible smell. And my dad's like, oh, it's just a skunk. No skunk smells like that. I know what skunk smells like. We have them out here all the time. Unfortunately, they get hit on the road all the time. It's sad, but I know what they sound like. I know what they smell like. That wasn't a skunk.
Right.
And my mom smelled it too. We all smelled it. But my dad, he just wanted to poo-poo it off as just nothing but a skunk. Well, me and my daughter and my nieces and nephews decided to have a little sleep out in the yard in a tent, because we would do those things. And so we're out there. We are all asleep. And at the time, we had a little Rottweiler dog named Aurora, and she was chained up out there on one of the trees. I felt better having her out there for some reason. I just did. And I'm sound asleep. Everybody's sound asleep. All of a sudden, we hear this I heard this god-awful noise. It sounded literally like something was being torn apart. Like maybe a coyote got a hold of a cat and it was killing it, And My mom heard it too. It woke her up. I tried to wake my daughter up. I tried to wake my nieces up. I tried to wake my nephews up. I kicked down the dang tent that they were sleeping in. They would not wake up for nothing. My mom tried to wake my dad up. He wouldn't wake up for nothing. I stepped outside the tent and I'm looking and at first I'm thinking, oh God, something, maybe something got a hold of Aurora. It's killing her. So I stepped out there and I'm looking. Aurora is sound asleep. She's not moving. She's not twitching. She's sound asleep. She didn't hear it. Now that's unheard of. Dogs always hear things.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, what the hell is this? I got out of the tent. Kind of stupid of me, I know, but yeah, I got out of the tent and I'm looking around, trying to find whatever in the hell this is. The noise is coming out from by the road where my mom has this little pond at. And I'm standing out there right by the fence, looking out there towards the pond, and I see nothing. I can't see nothing at all. I can't see. If it was a coyote, there would have been fur out there, something. There should have been something out there that you could see, because it literally sounded like something was being torn up. Just murdered.
Yeah.
And it's the worst sound I've ever heard in my life. I mean, it was absolutely creepy. It's one of those things that I got goosebumps on my arms. I was just completely freaked out. And then my mom comes out on the patio and she's like, did you hear that? And I'm like, yeah, I heard that, because it's finally stopped. And she's like, what was that? And I said, Mom, I don't know. I stepped out of the tent and looked around and there's nothing there. And I went out the next day and looked for footprints. Didn't find any footprints at all. Never found any fur indicating an animal being torn apart. There was no blood, no nothing. And I'm like, what the hell was that? What was that? And I look up in this tree, and oh gosh, it probably had to have been, I had to get a ladder to get it out of the tree, but it probably was a good 8 to maybe even 9 feet up the tree. In the branches, there was hair. And it wasn't fur, it was hair. It was coarse like hair. I know what hair looks like compared to fur. And I smelled it, and oh my God, it smelled just like that thing. And I'm like, oh, gag. And I had it, I put it in a baggie, and I was going to take it down to Idaho State University, which is like an hour away from me, where Jeff Meldrum is, because he's the Bigfoot expert. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. I would love to meet him in person, but I was going to take it down there to him and have him analyze it and see what the heck this was. Because my one nephew was trying to tell me, oh, it's just a skunk. No, that wasn't a skunk. He's trying to tell me that skunks can climb trees and they can go out on this little branch, this thin little branch that wouldn't hold their weight at all.
Right.
And it fell, and that's what we heard. No. I don't know if skunks can climb trees, but I can't see a skunk doing this. So unfortunately, when I had it in my car at the time, and I was going to take it down there, and then something happened, and I trying to remember what exactly happened. Had something to do with my car died or something, and I ended up getting rid of the car. I forgot that hair sample was in the car, and I never got to take it down to him. It's gone.
Wow.
No, Harley. No. What?
So
Harley, no barking.
That was incredible. I
Yeah.
really appreciate you sharing everything with us
Yeah.
tonight. So, like I said, I'm not trying to be rude, but I'm probably got about 2 minutes left, so I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to end the interview. Um, thank you for coming on tonight. I appreciate it, and don't hang up, please.
Yeah.
All right,
I'll be right here.
all right. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, what an interview! To be honest with you guys, I narrated her original Dogman encounter from what they called Werewolf Cemetery or Knocking Grave Cemetery in Idaho, and about a year and a half to 2 years ago. And I asked her that long ago to come on, and just dealing with the fact that she had seen these things so many times, it took her a long time to be comfortable to even type out what she saw, let alone for her to come on and share what she saw. So I really commend her. Great interview. I've waited a long time to have it on the show, and I'm so glad we got it. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And with that, please be kind to each other. May the Great Spirit watch over all of us, and may He guide us down that path that we call life. Until later on tonight, my friends.